Fizban and the Sleeping Beast, a tale from the jeweled halls of Mount Celestia, as told by Fizban the Fabulous. Probably... Now, where did I put my... Ah yes, my hat. Can't very well have a serious celestial parley without one's hat. There, presentable. Now, what was I doing again? Ah, yes, Mount Celestia. Jeweled halls, dragons, treasures, prophecy, and pituitary glands? Right. The palace shimmered like a dream made of gold and order. No matter which layer of Celestia you found yourself on, Lunia's silver shores or the glittering mountains of Solania, Bahamut's palace was always there, like a polite guest who never overstayed his welcome, yet always found the best seat in the house. I waddled down its corridors, which chimed softly beneath my feet, as though even the floors disapproved of my lateness. Columns of adamantine rose like frozen lightning, and windows the size of city gates shimmered with light, refracted through diamonds larger than a storm giant's bathhouse. "Fizban," boomed a voice from within. "You are late." "Am I?" I asked, patting my robes for a timepiece I'd misplaced sometime in the Age of Dreams. Time moves strangely when you forget it exists. The voice belonged to Dracanobalan, a gold dragon so ancient, her scales glowed not with firelight, but with the slow, patient wisdom of one who had seen the Dawn War with her very eyes. She was curled delicately atop a throne of emeralds, her wings folded like cathedral drapes. "I remember you being less distracted," she said. "I remember me being taller. Memory's tricky, isn't it?" Dracanobalan sighed. "I did not summon you for chatter, Fizban. I wanted you to confirm something. About Netheril, about the Tarrasque." "Oh, that again." Her eyes narrowed, twin suns behind gossamer veils. "You were there." "Well, in a manner of speaking." "Ah, yes." The lair of the Sleeping Beast. It was a dust-choked caldera in the southwest of what would become the Anauroch Wastes. Back then, it was, well, still dusty, but also alive. The Angart barbarians held vigil around the crater, like candle flames around a sleeping titan. Their shamans muttered prophecy in tongues older than time, and their war drums beat like a heartbeat, trying not to panic. The Tarrasque lay within. Some thought it was dead, never dead, just snoozing. And then he came, Karsus, that puffed-up sack of ambition and scented oils, sent his adventurers with bags and blades. "Cut out its pituitary gland," they said. "It's for the good of magic," they claimed. Fools. Except, of course. Many legends claim the Tarrasque would always return, one at any point in time, consistency and balance, as if chaos and order made a pact. In this moment, the scrolls claim it remained out of time or space. Why? Because Dracanobalan, clever, noble Dracanobalan, gave them a draft of golden ichor. "This shall soothe the beast," she told them. "Let it sleep." "Did you know?" I asked her now, peering up from beneath my hat. "Did you know what they'd do with it?" Dracanobalan's wings trembled slightly. I knew Karsus would tip the balance eventually. Better to direct the arrow than let it fly wild. My duty was to the Angart. They feared the beast's awakening more than they feared Karsus's victory. I chose the lesser wound. That's the trouble with wounds. They fester when you don't look at them. You kept the beast from waking, but the world broke all the same. She was silent for a long while. "And you? Even is that guise, your true form of Bahamut. You could have stopped it." "I tried," I said softly. But Karsus's arrogance was a tide. Even before the doom of his people, he made grand sacrifices and plans for the realms. Just like any story, there is a balance between the folly and the courageous. I looked around the jeweled hall, past the 7 great worms slumbering on mountains of riches, past the scrollwork of constellations inlaid into the ceiling. And sometimes you float to the surface, looking very silly, covered in seaweed, and forget half your incantations. Draconobalan exhaled. "You are still ridiculous," she said. I bowed with a flourish. "Fizban the Fabulous, at your disservice." She leaned in close, her golden eyes studying me. "Is the beast still asleep?" "Oh, yes," I nodded. "Though dreams ripple now and then. The land remembers the quake of its breath. The Angart are long gone, but whispers still curl up from that crater like steam from a stew pot." "And what if it wakes?" I shrugged. "Then we'll cross that apocalyptic bridge when we come to it. Perhaps I'll remember the spell by then." She smiled at last. "I hope not. You're far more interesting when you improvise." As I turned to leave the jeweled palace, my hat fell off. Again. One of the worms snorted in its sleep. I picked it up, dusted it off, and chuckled. "Well," I said to no one in particular, "at least I remembered the hat this time." And off I went, to forget something else entirely. Among the most devastating creatures in existence, the Tarrasque is an engine of catastrophe and a ruiner of nations. A terror of massive size and overwhelming might, this primeval destroyer survives from the earliest epochs of the material plane, when it served as a weapon of immortal forces. Since then, the Tarrasque has slumbered in secret, rising every few ages to usher in eras of destruction. The Tarrasque is a bipedal prehistoric monstrosity that stands over 70 feet tall. Bristling with horns and spikes, its spiny carapace deflects harm and can reflect magical attacks. The Tarrasque is a creature of tireless rage. It lashes out at any creature that catches its attention, thrashing with claws and its mighty tail, while swallowing smaller beings whole. It seems to take instinctual offense at the works of lesser beings, venting its rage at buildings, bridges, ships, and monuments. The larger a structure or foe is, the greater its wrath. It is a mystery what, if anything, calms the Tarrasque, but eventually it returns to its slumber, leaving the world irrevocably changed. While the beast might be halted by incredible opposition, its threat can never be wiped from the multiverse. Whenever the Tarrasque is defeated, another awakes somewhere else on the material plane. Few things survive its rampages, and reports of the monster's devastation are often contradictory, incomplete, or beyond belief. In cases where it leaves no survivors, its calamities might initially be blamed on evil dragons or magical disasters, but the Tarrasque frequently leaves behind some unmistakable indication of its passage. Fortunately, only one exists at any one time, as this is possibly the most dreaded monster of all, except for the largest dragons. None can predict where and when the creature will strike next. The location of the Tarrasque's lair is a mystery, and the beast remains dormant most of the time. Its torporous slumber usually lasts for months before it leaves its lair for a brief hunting period, over several days at a time. Thereafter, it slumbers for years, unless disturbed. When the Tarrasque moves across the material plane, it is a perfect engine of destruction, rampaging across the land, eating everything in its path, including plants, animals, humanoids, and even towns. Nothing is safe, and entire communities prefer to flee the ravening monster rather than face its raw power. Many legends surround its origin and purpose. Some hold that it is an abomination unleashed by ancient, forgotten gods to punish all of nature, while others tell of a conspiracy between wizards and merciless elemental powers. These tales remain mere speculation, however, and the creature's true nature will probably remain a mystery. This monstrous beast isn't in the habit of explaining itself, and rarely leaves any living witnesses in its wake. The destructive potential is so vast that some cultures incorporate the monster into religious doctrine, weaving its sporadic appearance into stories of divine judgment and wrath. When it awakens in answer to some inscrutable cosmic call, It rises from the depths to obliterate everything in its path. Seated in Bahamut's jeweled palace, somewhere between Solania's silver cliffs and the glowing spires of Mercuria, where the walls gleamed with mithril light and the very air shimmered with sanctified stillness. So, where were we? Ah, yes. The Tarrasque. Big, bad, and exceptionally bad-mannered. You wouldn't believe the number of picnic blankets that Beast has ruined. One moment you're pouring elderberry tea, the next you're airborne, holding a scone and reconsidering your life choices. But let's step back, way back to the Dawn War. You see, when the gods were busy alphabetizing existence, mountain here, sunrise there, let's put time after causality. The primordials threw a spectacular tantrum. Did they want creation? Not what I heard. They wanted chaos, movement without direction, form without meaning. Rather like abstract sculpture, come to think of it. And what better way to smash the carefully stacked blocks of the cosmos than by crafting a creature that embodied destruction? Thus, the Tarrasque. One. Only one. Because even the primordials, mad though they were, weren't idiotic. Now, most monsters, bless their little horns, are content to just be eat, raw, occasionally find themselves summoned by some poor fool with a chalk circle. But the Tarrasque, it is a statement, a living rejection of divine symmetry, a tantrum cast in teeth and flesh. Draconobalin listened as I rambled, rather graciously I might add, considering I'd upended her pile of enchanted sapphires while gesturing too dramatically. "You said something about gems?" she asked, delicately lifting a ruby the size of a halfling's head. "Ah, yes," I exclaimed, brushing diamond dust off my robes. "Quite the tale, that one. They say, and I say they because no one ever names sources when speaking in hushed tones over ale, that you can extract gemstones from the Tarrasque's upper shell. Raw crystallized essence, formed where pressure, time, and the creature's own impossible vitality have turned scales into precious stones. All you need to do is, bathe the creature in acid, then toss the harvested shell into a furnace hotter than a volcano's temper tantrum. Simple, really. Utterly suicidal, but simple. And that's not all. The underbelly, they say, can be forged. Mix it with adamantite. Stir in its blood. What you get is more than metal, it's legend. Armor that sings of destruction. Blades that hum with the bass line of annihilation. One dwarf even claimed his hammer could strike the soul out of a dragon. He was later eaten by said dragon, but you can't win them all. Of course, none of this matters unless you can subdue the beast. Which, how shall I put this delicately, you can't. The Tarrasque is baked into the marrow of the prime material. Its breath forms the wind. Its heartbeat rumbles the quake, and we both know it is bound to this plane the way hunger is bound to the stomach. The most one can hope to do, and many have, is put it to sleep. Deep, deep sleep. Into the molten flesh of the planet it goes, buried beneath stone, ward, and song. But even dreams move beyond the cage. And yet, ancient, very ancient texts, written in languages with more vowels than sense, speak of another way. A riddle, if you will. A paradox of sorts. What cannot be killed might be tricked. The Tarrasque is simple in its thinking, yes, but not mindless. It has a will. And will, as any bard will tell you after 3 glasses of wine, is susceptible to story. If one could deceive it, tempt it with prey or promise, bait it with illusion or meaning, it might follow. If it follows, it moves. And if it moves into a place beyond the prime, into the astral sea, the elemental chaos, the far realm, heavens help us, then maybe it can be sealed. Not destroyed, but misplaced, shall we say. Shelved, like a very large and dangerous book, No one dares open. Could it be done? Draconabalan asked me. I adjusted my spectacles, which I wasn't wearing, stroked my beard, which had just caught fire again, and replied, "Anything is possible, dear dragon. Even the world's worst mistake can be wrapped in ribbon if you use enough trickery." She blinked slowly. "And the cost?" "Oh," I said, voice quiet now. "Always something. The world demands its due, but better to bleed for a lie than to burn for the truth. Now, I know what you're thinking. Fizban, you say. Surely the tale ends with the beast buried beneath mountains, or banished to a cozy demiplane with good acoustics. Ah, if only. You see, in the year of the prince, 1357 by Dale reckoning, which, incidentally, was a terrible year for picnics, draconic romance, and most cities near mountains, someone, a mage of questionable taste and even worse friends, decided to summon the Tarrasque. Yes, summon it. They say it wasn't an ancient prophecy, nor a rumbling call. No divine curse, just one ambitious wizard, 7 dragon heads, and a ritual so forbidden it probably had its own jail cell in Candlekeep. Now, how he got the heads of 7 adult dragons, I cannot say. Perhaps he had a death wish. Perhaps the dragons were just very tired of each other and formed a self-destructive book club. The details are foggy, possibly because my notes were singed in a fireball incident involving too many candles and a talking owlbear. Regardless, he did it. The ritual was completed. The Tarrasque came roaring into the world once more, chewing through valleys like an especially angry vineyard plough. And who stood in its way? The crew of the Realm's Master. Ah, the Realm's Master. A vessel as fine as any I've ever crashed into a tree. Built as a caravel, sleek, elegant, and seaworthy, but with a few improvements, courtesy of the wizard Dwalimar Omen of Halruar. She could sail on water, fly through the skies, and, if politely asked or sternly commanded, teleport through planar barriers like a gossamer arrow. A skyship for those who prefer their heroism with altitude, and her figurehead, an image of Azuth, god of mages, carved in flowing robes and high-minded serenity, staring out into the stormy distance as if to say, "Try not to die in a dumb way today." A good motto for adventuring, really. So there they were, the Tarrasque, awakened, summoned, furious, and surprisingly well-fed. The Realm's Master, crewed by mages, warriors, and whatever else Dwalimar found lying around Halruar on discount. It should have been a slaughter. And yet, somehow, through tactics, tenacity, and no small amount of arcane overcompensation, they defeated it, driven off, perhaps teleported into the middle of the ocean, perhaps lured back underground with an illusory world full of edible castles. The stories differ. I suspect the truth is weirder. Did you witness it? Draconabalan asked me, her eyes the colour of warm sunlight through amber. I sipped my tea, which had begun floating again. "Ah, no," I admitted. "I was busy getting my hat back from a rogue vampire spawn at the time. Very distracting. But I felt it. The surge, the resonance, the world hiccuped." She nodded. "Even here in Celestia, the mountains whispered." "Yes," I said. "That's the thing about the Tarrasque. It's the world remembering it can scream, that there is no safety or security in the present. And so it sleeps again, somewhere deep, or far, or folded into the margins of a forgotten plain, waiting, sulking, dreaming of cities made of bread and castles made of noise. But for one brilliant moment, the skies cracked, the seas roared, and a ship with a god's face and a wizard's name danced with annihilation. And won. Just barely. Probably, I think. Well, I hope so. Blast, I should really check. And so, the Tarrasque slumbers, far beneath the surface. So if the ground rumbles and the clouds shift too quickly and the birds take flight with no wind, you might want to check again. It might be a beast worse than forgetting one's magnificent spell or their favorite hat. Probably. And make sure you subscribe to help old Fizban keep record of his hat.